What's up, gamers? Donnie and Brandon here, and welcome to the HitPoint's Humble Monthly Review for July 2019.
This is a show where we are going to be taking a look at and giving our honest first impressions of all the games featured in Humble Monthly.
The headliner this month is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Hellblade is a dark fantasy action-adventure game developed by Ninja Theory. Heavily inspired by Norse mythology, the game features amazing visuals, flashy combat, when it ever actually happens, and outstanding sound design. Focused around Senua's descent into psychosis, the game has been both praised and berated for its focus on mental health. You constantly hear the voices, presumably coming from her head, talking to Senua, each other, or just generally commenting on the environment around her. This creates a lively, if not spooky, experience. The game design might take a second to get used to, as there are literally no button prompts of any sort. I played through our whole first impressions without knowing that there was a block or a strong attack, just dodging and light attacking my way through combat.
We both felt that some of the game's mechanics were not adequately telegraphed to the player. For example, on top of the aforementioned lack of button prompts or any semblance of a tutorial whatsoever, both of us took a nosedive off of a beam you had to balance your way across, when several beams leading up to that point are legitimately impossible to fall off of. It made the death feel cheap and frustrating, especially when a few scenes later you're told that your deaths directly impact Senua's sanity, and that if you die too many times, you will trigger a permadeath. Aka game over. Though according to some reading we did online, the threat of permadeath is either a straight up lie by the developer or some form of commentary on mental illness, though to me it came off as more of the former. Likewise, most of the puzzles we encountered felt a bit dry. Most were blatant repeats of the puzzles leading up to them, and the ones that weren't involved us stumbling around the level in confusion until the puzzle magically solved itself, allowing us to progress. Where the atmosphere and combat shine, some of the puzzle design and the way information is relayed to the player absolutely does not.
All in all, an enticing game, definitely deserving of the independent AAA game title I've heard thrown around, and one I will be going back to. We all will, hopefully. Starting next week, we invite you to join us for our first ever gaming book club, starting with Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Basically, we're going to be taking a game each week, either in the current Humble Monthly or from the Xbox Game Pass, which is now on PC as well, and taking a deep dive into them. So we hope that you'll play along with us and join us back here next week to talk about it.
And of course, we'll always announce the week before what the next game we'll be playing is, so you could play along with us. This month's Humble Original was Kind Words. Kind Words is exactly what the subtitle states: lo-fi chill beats to write to. The game can only exist on the backs of the community. You yell into the void, posting just about anything. Your problems, asking for advice, good news, bad news, literally anything that might be on your mind. These are posted to the mass inbox, where strangers can then respond, giving you some advice, a thumbs up, or just sending some positive vibes your way. By far, my favorite part of the game is the stickers. Each user starts with a randomly generated sticker, and the way you collect more is people either replying to your message or sending a sticker as thanks to your response. You can then use these stickers to decorate your room. Truly groundbreaking game design that I love with all my heart. I only need 2 more stickers, and then my collection will be complete. So far, my experience has been nothing but extremely positive, with people parroting this opinion everywhere I look online. I haven't noticed any way to report toxic or trolling letters, but I also haven't seen any yet. Perhaps there's a filter of some sort, or someone on the back end reading all the letters. But I prefer to believe that everyone really is just that wholesome. The game has a killer soundtrack that I love to jam to, and just enough collectibles via the stickers to keep me checking back every once in a while.
Up next, we've got Love is Dead. It's a single-player or local co-op multiplayer puzzle game with a fun little story wrapped in a cute art style. The game is developed by Curiobot and published by Armor Games. Yes, that Armor Games. The core story involves you and your zombie lover trying to traverse the post-apocalyptic world in order to rescue your pets Dogface and Catface. You do this by completing increasingly complex puzzles and collecting IHOP's finest delicacies: pancakes. While Donnie and I disagree about how compelling the gameplay actually is, I did think it did a good job of intuitively teaching the player new puzzle mechanics through visual cues and an intelligent use of the game's narrator.
I just thought it was a fun, cute puzzle game with some good crack-ups from a witty narrator with a hook, saving your pets. Just good enough to keep me coming back.
While I personally won't be going back to this one, if you're into puzzle games, this one could be worth a look. Likewise, with the local multiplayer and lighthearted nature of the game, this game would be a great candidate to play with your children or a significant other who doesn't really play a lot of video games.
Road Redemption is a vehicular combat racing game by EQ Games, a spiritual successor to the old Road Rash games. Featuring arcadey racing with really fun weapon combat, they keep it fresh by mixing melee, explosives, and guns depending on what situationally is appropriate. It is a very fast-paced game, having both a solo campaign and online multiplayer. It did not take me long at all to find an online match. I can't tell if Humble gave the multiplayer a boost or if people are just really devoted to this game. It also features some roguelite elements, such as temporary upgrades to health, damage, and armor, which are all lost after you die. Then you can spend XP on permanent upgrades, new characters, bikes, or level skips, and you find your way back to the first level every single time. Fun alone, it definitely would be a blast for some online with friends. Plan to go back to this one with some pals.
Warhammer 40k Mechanicus appears to be a turn-based tactics game. The game reviews pretty well, pulling a critic score of 79 and a user score of 7.7 on Metacritic. While on the surface, the game appears to be a 40k themed XCOM clone, a lot of reviews seem to indicate that the game can in fact stand on its own. If you are into tactics games or the Warhammer 40k universe, this is definitely one you should check out. Personally, this is one of the games I was looking forward to the most in July's Humble Monthly. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the game to launch, so your mileage may vary.
Moving along, we have Nairi, Tower of Shirin, a cute little point-and-click visual novel. Not terribly compelling in the story department, but the hand-drawn art style, some legitimate laugh-out-loud moments, a couple of fun hidden pieces, and the cute kitty bandits kept me through for the first hour. Unfortunately, there was not much to be found past that. The story itself didn't feel like it was going anywhere, and I believe that a good hook is extremely important in a visual novel. Maybe worth a check if you're a large fan of the genre.
While I thought the writing had its moments, the writing was about the only thing that might compel me to go back. Me not being a fan of point and clicks, mixed with the art style, which I found to be frustrating and distracting in the actual gameplay, this one gets a pass vote from me.
Why can't you just be happy with sweet kitty cats? Omar is my precious baby. 60 Parsecs is a self-described atomic space age adventure of scavenge and survival, a sequel to the first 60 seconds that I never played by Robot Gentleman. The adventure sees your ship destroyed, and you launch into the vacuum of outer space with 3 other people and very limited supplies. After this, it follows a simple gameplay loop of crafting, decision-making, and trying to keep your crew alive. The art style reminded me a lot of Adult Swim, mixed with a comic book. While the comedy was right up my alley, bonus points for Brooklyn Nine-Nine reference, Mr. Gentleman, the gameplay loop was frustrating to me, losing a crew member within the first couple weeks in space. The game deserves a second chance with a fresh playthrough. Maybe I won't be so damn short on soup this time.
The art style is fun and I love the writing. For as comical and trivial as your decisions might seem, the result of said decision can be very real. Crafting a can of soup rather than a roll of tape might just cost you a crew member. There's a delicate balance between keeping your crew fed and keeping your crew alive. I think that it's also worth mentioning that the majority of the gameplay is more or less a glorified point and click, so if you're not a fan of the genre, something to keep in mind. All in all, 60 Parsecs is a good way to kill an hour or two, though I don't see myself loading it back up again anytime soon.
The second big early announce for this month was Moonlighter. In Moonlighter, you play the role of a humble shopkeeper, but there's a twist. You moonlight as a mystical dungeon-crawling adventurer. You'll fight your way through constantly changing and increasingly difficult dungeons, collecting artifacts and goods to take home and sell in your shop. The actual dungeon crawling feels a lot like other roguelites on the market, such as Binding of Isaac or Dead Cells, though that isn't necessarily a bad thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So Brandon, were the deals as hot as the month that it came out?
Well, we'll throw the game's individual prices up on screen for you now, but had you bought all the games piecemeal, they would have cost you a whopping $137.93 US, with the cheapest game clocking in at $9.99 US. So if even one of these games looks interesting to you, then you pretty well justified your subscription. Everything else is just a bonus.
So that was our Humble Monthly review for July 2019. Be sure to install Hellblade: Senua Sacrifice and join us next week for our inaugural episode of the Gaming Book Club.
If not, we'll be back at the beginning of August with a recap of the next Humble Monthly. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see all of you guys next time.